Hello and welcome to day one of the Airthings Masters part of the Champions Chess Tour. And this is another big event, guys, that features the world's top players, including Magnus Carlsen and many stars, and of course, our very own Pentala Harikrishna. So today we'll have a quick look at the four games played today. Remember, there are 12 players in this section, and only 8 players will move on to the quarterfinals. So we are going to have plenty of action over the next 3 days to determine the top 8, and then we'll move on to a knockout. This is a round robin event, so every player will face every player once. And of course, Magnus Carlsen will also face off against Hari Krishna, and that game happened today, and we'll check in on that game as well. So let's tune in to round one. In round one, as you can see also in the title, that we have had a slow start, but it is with decisive results, of course. So let's jump right in the round one action game. So this is a game between Alexander Grischuk and of course the YouTube sensation Hikaru Nakamura, who has blown up significantly in the streaming world, and he is such a joy to watch both on stream and also while playing. So this game starts off in the Italian game, and a slowish start suddenly comes to life when Nakamura is faced with a difficult choice, as Grischuk gives up a pawn for a little compensation, but he just tries to go for activity. So we'll just quickly reach that position, guys, and it's around here. It's quite obvious Nakamura wants to get this rook into the game, whereas Grischuk is trying to play on this king side. He'll try to create some tactics along the king side here. And as you can see, queen d7, king h2, bishop h5, pawn to e6, guys. This is the moment that is very crucial here in the game, because things aren't going to be normal after this. So Hikaru takes this, and white gets this beautiful knight on e5 known as an outpost, and things are going to be tough for Hikaru here to defend. Also, this bishop is attacked, and queen is attacked, so he saves both. And here you can see Hikaru is slightly put on the defensive, but he takes it to another level. As you can see, even the bar rises slowly after g5. g5 was not the best move, and instead of defending, Hikaru actually goes on the offense. He does the counter attack. And as you can see, knight f4 going in. He wants to trade pieces, guys. Remember, if your opponent is attacking, you have to trade pieces to safeguard your king. G into h6, first pawn is recovered. Now the material is equal. Knight d3, queen d3, queen h5 check, king h2, and now you can see this bishop is kind of blocked by white's pawn. So he tries to get this bishop into the game by playing c6. Now his idea is to get the bishop here on this long diagonal counter attack, as I said earlier. Grischuk continues at g7. Now remember, he's a pawn up, but this move also allowed a rook lift by Hikaru. And okay, currently this bishop is guarding, of course, but even the rook can come to g6 and attack the king along that diagonal, that rank as well, that file as well. Sorry. So bishop c7. Bishop f2, king g7, or even this sleeping rook can also come into the game here, and it's going to be really tricky for Grischuk. And of course, as we know, he's a time trouble addict, so Grischuk was already down to a very last time here, and you can see Hikaru getting his pieces. And now, guys, it is very easy to say, okay, get your rook or get this rook in the game, but the timing was critical, and Hikaru strikes with e5. You want to open up lines. You want to open up lines against your opponent's king, and that is the best way to attack. And rook e8, now he wants to capture with check, and after this takes, Hikaru enters. Now you can see it's 4 pawns versus 4 pawns, and Hikaru wants to enter into a slightly better endgame, and he manages to do that by using the activity of his rooks. Steals a pawn here, and now because this pawn is not hanging, because black stops that, and here after you see it is not an equal position. White is slightly inferior, but the skills that Hikaru brings, he puts maximum pressure. It is nobody's saying that you have to play perfectly, you just have to put pressure on your opponent, and Hikaru manages to do that in Grischuk's time pressure. And you can see one just giving a check, not just taking. These are the small pressures that I was talking about. So check, and now he takes. Hikaru gives us the pawn. Now this pawn is going to be black star. This pawn will decide if Hikaru is going to win or it's going to be a draw. So as we see, the best theme that they say for end games, passed pawn should be pushed, and Hikaru is doing just that. And now this check helps him. Now actually this was the position, guys, where Grishchuk could have saved himself with a draw by playing b5, but it's really tricky because these rook end games are so tricky, and even one small mistake here and there can change the result entirely. And yeah, Hikaru continued marching his king after this rook e8 check, which was a mistake. And now you see this king is much closer to the queening square, and Grishchuk literally has been playing the last 10-15 moves with having 5 seconds on his clock. The players get 10 seconds for every move, but it's just too less with the internet. You can do pre-moves, guys, but it's quite tricky. Now d3 is played. Hikaru is happy to give up this pawn because his pawn is just too fast, and Grishchuk should have tried rook c6, guys, but instead he goes king b3, and just this pawn will also now queen with check. That is the worst part for him. And now the key thing is, if you go rook e6 check, I won't move my king. Instead I'll just bring my rook in the game and block it. So things got really difficult here, and after king e2, rook d6, again no need to push because white has king c2, and then you are in some problems because this rook is hanging. As you saw that bar, it's now a draw. So you also have to be very, very precise if you are playing the black pieces or the attacking side. So rook endgames, you're going to learn a lot about rook endgames in today's video. So king e1, basically giving the opponent a move, and after rook e6, king d1, now it's just over. You just push the pawn. It's also a check, guys, remember. Grishchuk tries king c4, but now king to c2, and the game is over, guys, because it's not that okay, I'll play rook d6, if you queen, I'll take and I'll push my pawn. As again you can see the bar dropped right back and it's a draw. But you have to find out the intermediate check that Hikaru had, because he'll give a check, king has to go here, and now he'll interpose the rook, just blocking the white's rook file, and it's just over. A very, very nice win here by Hikaru, and we have to give it up because he is so tricky. He finds the smallest differences and comes up with the goods. Before we move on to round 2, a very, very short example I want to show you was between Magnus Carlsen and Levin Orion. A very interesting position arose. The game was pretty interesting throughout. Ragozin defense, Aronian's favorite. Nothing much to discuss before we get to that point. Of course, you can I'll put all the games in the description so that you guys can also have a look at the games thoroughly. But yeah, action is thick and fast. Aronian again today we are going to learn a lot how you can use your king as a piece, guys, in throughout the game, especially in the end games. So Aronian is here trying to hold on with black. We all know Carlsen always pushing. The world champion is such a fighter. And now in this, it looks like an equal position, but Carlsen will create something. We all know that he will create something out of nothing, and he does, to his credit. Now you can see he has won a pawn, and it's like 2 pawns, but these 2 pawns are just they're just passes. They're just queens here. White can just start pushing them. So Aronian tries to defend, and now comes the best part of the game. And here Aronian is happy to trade because after rook d4, king d4, now he can win this pawn. He'll try to push this pawn, and he's hoping for a draw. But Aronian just blundered with rook f4. Can you find the win that Magnus Carlsen had? I'll just quickly switch to white so you can check. So black played rook d4. As you can see, the bar also just rises up. You can see white is slightly better, but after rook d4, white has a totally winning position. So yes, always look for forcing moves that are checks. captures and threats, and here the single logical check is just winning with f4. And the point is you have to take with the pawn, or you can move your king, but the main thing is this rook, the rank is opened because of f4. And like Carlsen missing a golden opportunity, and mind you guys, Carlsen drew all 4 of his games, so who knows, this win would have changed everything. But it did change for one man, that is Levin Aronian, and we'll see his game in round 2. So Aronian fresh from, and Aronian said in the interview that he immediately saw that and he was quite pumped up to see, okay, this is his lucky day. So we see it's Aronian versus Giri in this open Sicilian, and white is of course going to go on this king, black is going to come on this queen side. Typical Sicilian sacrifice here with rook into c3. The point is wrecking the pawn structure, and you can see it is very important to open files, and black has managed to do that. Of course you can't play queen c3 because you run into problems here, because it's not really advisable, because I'll just push and you are slower, so you need more pieces on the king side, so on the queen side. So black is trying to pull in more pieces here. Knight e5 wants to get into c4, and we have another critical moment of the game here. Bishop c1 protecting the pawn, d5. And the point is, guys, you don't have to think about material too much, you just have to focus on blasting open the lines and opening the lines against the opponent's king. And here he goes for it, he goes for g6. The point is just open up more lines. The more lines are open, the major pieces can enter. After g6, Anish Giri blunders with knight a3, because just a simple move, king a2 was totally winning for Aronian here, guys. The point being, if you just go back, now I'm threatening to win the piece, so you have to go back, and now I play h6. And the same things I was discussing about, that you will manage to open up something. For example, you can't take this because I take on e6 and it's a fork, so even that's out of question, and I will take this. My rook is going to open up and my king is pretty safe on a2 actually. So this was Aronian's chance actually, but he took on a3 and he managed to get a good position. He managed to win the game, but it was not the cleanest of finishes, we can say. And yeah, now a very important thing to note is this bishop on a3 will be there till almost the end of the game, and black will play the whole game as if he's a piece down, and kudos to Aronian for figuring that out. He just is happy to trade. Now he wins in exchange. He was an exchange up after that rook into c3 sack, and now the point is he just wants to somehow get his rook there so he can capture this pawn. So one probable route might be like this, and you can see there he goes. Of course, don't go there, the bishop is controlling, don't blunder, and he gets the pawn finally. But now this pawn is also a runner, and absolutely nothing Anish can do. He tries to put up some final moves and throws in the towel. Really impressive win by Lev here, and he had a great day one after the miracle save that he was. Moving on, so we have still in round 2 we have Teimur Radyabo versus David Anton Guyaro, Spanish number 1, and we have another Ragozin, very popular nowadays in a variation in the Queen's Gambit, that is also very popular, of course. Pretty standard opening here, both players very well prepared. Anton Guyaro is a beast in openings, especially in attacking ones, and here you can see he's trying to open up stuff, but of course you can't take on c3 because the queen is hanging. And now knight h2, quite an interesting temporary sack. Of course you're going to get this knight on c3 later on. So takes, he takes here. Now white's aim is to maintain this pawn and get this bishop out. Look how nicely Raja is doing this. You know, the pawns will control the dark squares and this bishop will control all the light squares. A very nice color combination theme by Raja here. So bishop g4, rook b1, action continues. Always you see, happy to trade. And now this is the moment that I want you guys to learn. This is such interesting, instructive play by Rajabov. I said you have to use your king as a piece, especially in the end games. Just compare these two kings. like king here and king on white's king on g1 and black's king on g8. You will see this king does so many moves, does so many things on the board and helps white to win, whereas black's king will never move from g8. So let's see how instructive that is. Raja is going for it. He wants that win. He is pushing. He picks up a pawn, picks up another pawn, gives back one pawn. So he's one pawn up. Now you see still the king is not going to stop here, guys. King keeps on going, keeps his journey, and now he wants to attack this pawn but doesn't want to doesn't want to fall for this, and keeps it going. You see the king is not, as I said, the king will not stop, and so many moves the king has done. In the end, that king will be that difference. The main difference, the main point is, guys, white has 1 2 3 and 4 pieces. Black is just playing with 3. So basically black is a piece down, like even Anish was a piece down when the bishop on a3 was stuck. And your king will come back into the action, guys, as promised, and passed pawn should be pushed. Again, one more reminder, in rook endgames and all endgames actually. And you can see, okay, many checks will come in, the king will hide, and the last check, this pawn, nobody's stopping this pawn, and David resigned here. A very nice win by Raja. And at the midway stage, it was already clear that we are having a slow start with many GMs, many players not taking the risk. And as we see, we'll in the third round was the only round where we had only one decisive result, and that we'll see between Anish Giri versus Wesley. So you can judge quite a slow start for Anish, but we know he's a force to reckon with, and he will be back tomorrow pretty soon. This was quite an shocking defeat actually, because Anish rarely loses, especially with the white pieces, and this is such a short game, guys, just 25 moves, and nothing major happened except just Wesley got a good position after the opening that he always does, and Anish blundered. So you see, such smart play, just getting his rook in, all the smart things are being done, and of course protect your rook here. And here, nice point to be noted, guys, like this is black's playing side with the rook and the queen looking over. Okay, oops, not that one. Yep, along this diagonal. So you have to open up files along the king side here, and he does just that. Again, always note, you can always take and give a check, so you have to be careful for such ideas. Rook b1, bishop c3, queen c3, queen d7. One more thing to be noted is that this pawn is a backward pawn. In the end game, it's a passed pawn because there is no pawn in front of it, but that's a long way away. In fact, this pawn can be very weak, and white would have loved it if this pawn was on d4, or even if that pawn wasn't there. And this is the position where Anish crumbles, and here he goes queen c4, allowing knight d4 here, and after this it's totally lost. I mean, Anish had an option of trying to bring his knight again. They say back pieces are not well placed on the back rank, so he had an option of bringing his knight, stopping the knight jumps actually, and giving up a pawn that we discussed earlier. But sadly Anish went for the conservative approach, and after knight d4 it's over. Now I'm threatening f3 check. If your king goes back, I have queen h3, I have knight e2 check, winning your rook, like forking this. Very difficult to find a move. Anish tries something, and after f3 check throws in the towel. The point being, let's play some random moves. So knight check, king h3 and queen h3, and king h1, queen h3. And the point is, you will say, oh, this is not a mate, but the point is I'm threatening queen f1 mate, and if you want to protect f1 with your rook, now you open up this square and I just mate you. And let's say you take on f3, then I just take back with my rook and I'm a piece up. So a difficult start for Anish, but we'll definitely pray for his strong recovery. Moving on to round 4, guys, it is our very own Pentala Harikrishna, who also drew all 4 of his games. So he's on 2 out of 4. We'll have a look at the standings very soon. So a very, very nice solid start by Harikrishna, who is known for his endurance and stamina in tournaments. So Hari playing Magnus here in Magnus's pet line, that is the Sicilian Sveshnikov. And Hari Krishna tried a bit, but he didn't get too much out of the opening and was happy with the draw, as we'll see. Quite a instructive thing that both knights will get to the outposts, but not really, uh, not much happening actually in this position. And here, like the players were too happy to end their day. Both the players having all four draws, so it is just like you take some rest and try again tomorrow. So a very good start for Hari Krishna. Four draws, and now he is on 2 points out of four. And same for Magnus. Let's get into the last game of today, that is the game between Maxime Fasher-Legrave versus Jan Nepomniachtchi, who both are very very close competitors. As you know, both are leading the candidates tournament that is stopped midway, and one of them is tipped to be Magnus Carlsen's challenger, and they are so well versed with their openings. They are so close. You can even see the ratings are the same, 2784, 2784 for both the players. So let's check how they did, because it's also some psychological play going on, because it is important to have one up on your opponent always. So it starts off again with a Sicilian Najdorf variation here, and again Maxime, he plays this opening himself with the black pieces, and tries always. Maxime is known for his opening ideas and enterprising ideas, and he just plays few openings, but he plays them very well. He studies them very well. And now Maxime got a little bit of pull from the opening, guys. He had some things, some stuff going. Again, queen h, rook h4, protecting the pawn here, to be noted. And you can see if black plays a3, I'll go b3, so blocking everything. But my point is, I want to explode on the e file, as we have discussed, open lines against your opponent's king. Castle, now he himself goes a3, provoking this check, and takes queen c2. MVL is happy to play this endgame, and this is a position that we call of two results. So either white is going to win or white is going to draw. But sadly, life is unpredictable, and so is chess. So that didn't happen, but this is a very common motif. You see, white will get this knight on e4. He can get that check. He can also attack that pawn. So Maxime in the driver's seat, guys. And it was expected that he'll win, but we'll just show. Look at this again. We discussed kings today. Look at that king from g8. It has made his way up to g5 and will make more efforts here. Look at that. Now it's on f4. But sadly, the king is, going to get stuck in a mating net, and now already white is threatening very dangerous things like just rook f1 check, and just doubling, because you have to play bishop f3. Just Jan tries his last bit to disbalance MVL, and here, guys, I think it was in this position after rook h2, giving up the exchange. MVL knows that he has two options. He can either go for the mate or for the material, and this was basically a only move by Jan. Like, Jan knows he's going to lose, but you shouldn't be greedy always, and MVL had a simple move here. He could have just taken on g6. The point being, takes, and now, like, takes, and you have this check first, and after king g4 you take with check, and you win everything. Like, king has to be here, and you can even try to trap this bishop, and you have this check coming in again. We are almost at move 40, guys, and look at this rook in the corner, never moved once on its birth square. So this intermediate check was missed by Maxime probably, and he goes for the material, and he lives to regret his options, because you see, white has the rook, but black has a bishop and a pawn here, and again this pawn can create some trouble. The point is, the king goes back, and the king is totally safe now. So Maxime trying to create some passed pawns for himself, but sadly it fails shockingly. The rook and the bishop combine beautifully to create counterplay, and we can see now Maxime is not at all like 10% of the position that he had earlier, but it is Nepo who's going to like slowly start pushing, and we see one blunder by MVL that changes everything actually. Still, White has the game in his balance. White can make the draw anytime he wants, but he starts to go astray, and now this pawn is also going to start running down the board. This bishop is a beautiful bishop, controlling everything, also safeguarding the king from checks. And here you can see black starts pushing. Black's king again, he was doing so much, and I think, yeah, this was the position. King b5 was the blunder, guys. White had to take a deep breath in, play rook e7 and agree that he is not going to win and just take the draw here. But yeah, king g3 happened and rook e7, it's just too late. And a very nice final combination I want to show you guys. Both the sides pulling their strings, trying to win the game. And in this position, just after rook f8, rook a3 is important to protect this rook. After rook c1, guys, think of this position that White is just played a random move. He just played a slow move, giving you the move. Will you play e1 queen or no? Just think about it. E1 queen, White can take, or White can also take on f3 with check. So you have to just check all the calculations and see, is it working for you? This is the critical moment that determines will you win or no. And we are lucky we have time, but the players were in serious time pressure here. And Nepomniachtchi is super quick, super sharp with these tactics, and he plays e1 queen. The point being rook into f3 check. Of course you can't take here because it's a draw after this, and now both sides will give up their rooks for the pawn. But after rook f3 you have rook into f3. Now if you queen, now this king is too open and you just get mated. Like, queen and rook are deadly, you cannot fight against them. So this was a checkmate. But another point is, after rook f3 you will say, I'll play rook e1, what's the harm? And after king e1 I'll queen. When you queen, I'll take this rook and it's a draw. I have a queen, you have a queen. But here comes the intermediate check, and after g1 queen, White tries to play this. You see, I'm trying to play the queen f3 is not happening. That is because this is a check, as the flickering light on chess.com shows. And after the check, sadly, it was time for Maxim to give up the game. And so we had a very action-packed day. Actually, it was a slow start, but we could have had many decisive games here. And we hope so that we'll have this recap feature, the highlight feature, everything every day now. And we are looking forward to also hearing from you, from your comments on who do you think will qualify firstly, and will Hari Krishna make it to the top 8? Let us know in the comments. And before we go, just a quick look at the standings from day 1. We can see Hikaru Nakamura, the beast, leading with 2.5. There are 5 players in the lead, all of them with 1 wins and 3 draws. That is Hikaru, Lev, Dubov is another strong player, former World Rapid champion, Teimur Radyabov, and So Wesley. We have another 4 players on the group of 2 points that have drawn all their games. That is Magnus, Grishchuk, Nepo actually lost 1 and won 1, and our very own Pentala Hari Krishna. Whereas we have MVL that is only on 1.514, and 2 players who lost 2 games, that is David Anton and Anish, are only at 1 out of 4. But we'll have another action-packed day 2 of the Airtide Masters, and we hope so that it will be full of chess and full of tactics and full of fun. Till then, this is International Master Rakesh Kulkarni signing off for chess.com.